I heard that.
You heard it.
I heard that.
This is the One Piece Podcast, episode 792 for the week of Monday, October 23rd, 2023. My name is Steven.
And my name is Greg.
Yeah, and manga is off this week, so that means it is SGS time. We got Steven, we got Greg, and we have Simba, who was making his presence known as we set up.
Absolutely adorable. Every time it kills me. Steve,
Yeah.
you don't know this. I don't think we leave these in the recordings or anything, but we do this clapping to sync the audio. We do this double clap. It's a pretty standard thing for recording audio.
Yeah.
And every time Steven claps, I hear in the background, no matter when or where it is, I always hear,
because he's always asleep, and I'm always waking him up when I do that. And yeah.
That's so cute. So yeah, I think SGS, Stephen, Greg, and Simba is absolutely appropriate for this. Someday we got to leave that in.
Yeah. It's a little quiet on the recording though, so I don't know how easy it is to pick it up on Audacity itself. Anyways, yeah, so it's getting a little bit later in the year. How has life been treating you? How's the weather over there?
It's we're starting to get to the psychotic girlfriend period of weather. Where everything, it's actually, that's what we call it in the office, but it's more like the Grand Line weather.
Because there you go.
It's not like you hear in London, right? They'll say like, oh yeah, it'll be sunny, but then it's foggy and it's foggy and it's foggy, and then it'll be a little bit sunny and then it's foggy and rainy and foggy. We have foggy, rainy, sunny, hailing, foggy, rainy, hail, sunny, beautiful, wind, rain, and that's before noon. And I'm kind of not exaggerating.
Wow.
But yeah, around the change of the seasons, this area is just absolutely crazy out here on the Sea of Japan. It's really, really different weather, and you just got to be ready for any kind of change. So we're constantly carrying umbrellas around in fear of what's going to fall from the sky. But
yeah, we don't really have hail so much, but it is a little bit similar in that it can be cool or maybe even cold at times, and then sometimes, like today, it is hot as balls. I went out and did an errand, and it was just absolutely midsummer weather. So that's not so much
horror
fun.
Movie.
Yeah, where they're all running the garlands around the totem pole and everything. Anyways, yeah, like I said, we're getting later into the year, and that means, it means that we have the year-end festivities coming up, as well as the customary jump breaks. But in terms of talking about the season, I want to play a little like word association or memory association with you, Greg, because I'm really curious. What is the first thing, like, memory or just first thought that pops into your head when you hear the words Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade?
I mean, without any hesitation, this year it would be Luffy.
Oh boy, have they started the the betting where you can bet on whether they're going to pronounce it Luffy or Luffy?
Now, I know you're not on Twitter very much these days, which I completely understand. But before I even heard the news that it was going to happen, all I saw were tweets that were, yeah, they're totally going to botch that name. I was just like, the hell? That's all I could do. So it seems heavily to favor that Luffy will be the pronunciation, but yeah, I think what Steven is alluding to is the fact that Monkey D. Luffy will be in float form, coming down the streets of Manhattan in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade for 2023, which is really amazing on a number of levels, and maybe not as many as everyone appreciates, because of course there's the fact that it's happening, which is rad. I mean, that's just so cool. To see this happen. It's something that, like, the Macy's Day Parade is like one of the things that, like, people can still agree on is like a fun thing, a good thing, probably. Because I know fireworks, we're trending more towards doing drone shows and whatnot, and how we celebrate and enjoy festivities together is changing in the world. But, like, for whatever reason, the Thanksgiving Day Parade seems to be pretty good, and people are in agreement that it's a fun event, and it's something that pretty much most thing that American listeners at least grew up with. Listening to watching on television, pretty much no matter where you lived. For me, it was a big deal because I lived right next door to it, and I was able to go see it, twice.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I saw it on the streets. I made my parents suffer. They're amazing for that, but we did enjoy it, and now to see something that I love. I mean, let's be honest. The first iteration was obviously Dragon Ball. I mean, when that happened, when was that? Like 2000, maybe 16, around that.
Yeah,
somewhere around there. When that happened, that was just amazing. I mean, that just moved my heart. But now to see One Piece sharing in that is just unbelievable. The amount of money that they must be putting towards that. Something else.
They must have gotten the tip off, like, maybe Netflix told them, like, hey, Toei, if you really want to get in, if you really want to get in the living rooms of the American people, forget Times Square. You got to get the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Well, it is something that I've been telling Naito through the years, as they do their. I'm kind of rough on them for doing these things, even though I love them. People. Oh my gosh, so much I want to say, so little time. I'm pretty harsh on the promotional events that One Piece has done overseas sometimes. That doesn't mean I don't enjoy them or like them. So that's why I got to be careful how I present this. But whenever I criticize, like, the New York Times articles or the Times Square event, people are like, "Well, don't you like it?" I liked it, and I'm not saying you can't have liked it. I think they're cool that they happened, but they are severely tone deaf. Putting One Piece in the New York Times is just like, for who?
Right.
I enjoy it. I have it. I was able to get them, thankfully. But who sees that and is like, yes, I must watch this series now in that medium. The New York Times Square thing is like great for fans to gather.
Right.
Everybody else, the F? What is? I don't understand. What is? Okay, something's going on. What they're looking for is something that people can see, recognize, discuss, remember, and then look into. And none of those previous iterations are something that would really accomplish that based on the main audience for that medium. However, this is entirely different, and I've been telling them, it's funny. We were just discussing the Whoopi Goldberg thing. I said, you have to consider morning shows, and also what Dragon Ball has done with the Thanksgiving Day Parade. Now, I'm not going to take credit for that or anything, but it is the kind of thing that I've been mentioning to them through the years as they've been doing these. Because let's be honest, the results of those have been disappointing for them. They never really paid off, and it didn't become the kind of fire starter that they were hoping for in terms of interest in the series. But what I did want to mention that is remarkable about this, and people might not consider, is the fact that it is following Dragon Ball, which is not something Oda tends to do. And that might sound a little bit strange, but Oda's kind of MO is to, at all times, outdo what he looks up to, what he enjoys. He has intense rivalry, a sense of rivalry and camaraderie, of course. But it's almost like it's below him to try and do the same thing that another popular series is doing. He wants he wants the series to stand out on its own for what it is and what it is capable of showing fans. So that's why I was most surprised about this, is because this is going to be doing something now that Dragon Ball has already accomplished. It's a feather in its cap. However, I think they recognize the necessary advantages that this kind of medium could provide for them as a jumping board for something else to do now in the future, other ways to explore and promote the series.
Yeah. I mean, it's my memories of I've never been to the parade itself, of course, but here I don't know if they do like any like time delay on the TV broadcast or anything, but for us on the West Coast, it's always on like in the middle of the day. Like, in other words, it's if you're at home at your parents' place and everybody's working on the big dinner and whatnot, it's happening in the middle of the day before you're eating anything. So you're just kind of hanging around, like sitting on the couch or whatever. And
there's definitely a time delay.
Okay,
because we were there, at like sunrise in place, and it's not terribly long after that. I want to say, when is it? It's like 9 or 10, maybe at the absolute latest
in the morning.
Yeah, I think it's like somewhere between 8, 9, 10. I think is where it starts in the morning. And yeah, I mean, if it's because does it go that long? It's about a 2-hour event. Yeah,
that's about right.
So
yeah,
it would be ending at your noon. Or excuse me, not at your. It would be
at our 9 o'clock. Yeah,
at your You say you start it at noon, so yeah, there's definitely a time delay there.
Okay, that makes sense then. But yeah, it's just for people who are not that familiar with our national customs here, it's just a thing that's always on this big holiday where everyone gets together and eats, and it's a time where the whole family is around and kids are around, and that's who's watching the TV. And that's what makes it such a great, opportunity to get your character, your icon in front of everyone and paying attention to who's there. What sort of entertainment stuff is showing up in the parade this year. And it is a huge deal.
The only thing I can think of is that they realized they struck gold when they went with Japan, because there are so many Japan influenced floats that it's ridiculous. I think like the only thing I can think of that's international, and not like I've been watching like a hawk every year, but like other than Japan, is like Paddington. That's the only thing I can think of, because it's so loaded. You've got Hello Kitty, Pikachu,
yeah.
Power Rangers, and I don't know if they still have these, but like there's definitely a red Ranger, from original Mighty. Well, I say original in the U.S. original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Goku. What else? There are a lot. And yeah, I'm stuck, at around here, but just that's in 1 year. You have that many characters from Japan-oriented IPs. So I think whenever Macy's found out that like, oh, kids like this Japan stuff, it was just cha-ching. Yeah. So congratulations to One Piece for that. I'm very much looking forward to seeing Monkey D. Luffy.
Oh yeah, man. I can't wait. I can't wait to find out. I gotta know.
You know what the best part is going to be is if they address it. If they're like, now I got a note on this next one.
Oh yeah. There you go. that'll be the extra parlay on the betting. Whether or not they mention that they were told to say it this way.
Yes.
Speaking of kids, we're going to do a little podcast housekeeping here. We have a brand new podcast under the, I guess it's under the Maji Media umbrella. It's not quite under the One Piece podcast umbrella, called For Kids Flashback. And that is our good friend Steve Yurko working with one of the voice actresses from the old For Kids stable. And they go through, she has like this incredible Rolodex of everybody, all the producers and the actors and the writers and everybody who was involved with For Kids back in the day. And they are interviewing them and figuring out, what the hell happened, basically, in so many words. And it's such a cool concept and idea that they, managed to pull off. And from what Steve says, it sounds like they have been very busy. They're really stockpiling a lot of stuff. So I think there's going to be a whole wealth of content to come from that. So that sounds interesting. If you're interested in that kind of history of speaking of Japanese sourced entertainment products and their history on U.S. airwaves, definitely give that a listen. And aside from that, I think we're going to get into our discussion of the latest chapters and take a couple questions as well. So why don't we take a quick ad break, and we'll be right back.
Now this is podcasting.
This is, well, I guess it's the manga recap, if you want to call it that. We're going to go through what happened in the last couple chapters. Since our last break, since we last talked, we've had 2 chapters. I was mistaken. I think last time I said that there had been 3 since the last time, but after the Netflix series came out, and I was like, okay, I'm not doing any more promotional stuff now, so it'll get better. And we've only had 2 chapters per break. So I don't know. I don't know if that's just a sign of the new normal, or if there's still, some stuff weighing on his time. At any
I'm not
rate,
sure. I don't know, but I what is it? It's been 1, 2. I thought it was 1, 2, 3 break, 1, 2, 3 break, and now it seems to be 1, 2 break, 1, 2 break, and we're significantly past the. Well, you know what? Maybe there's some of this. No, that would have been all done like over a year ago. The Zorro anime thing, that would have been set and settled.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like I said at the start, we are getting to the end of the year when we have jump breaks, and Oda's usually good about like not taking extra breaks when there's also the jump breaks happening. So I would expect it'll probably still be around this same frequency, but we'll find out.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Fortunately,
look. I mean, the man only has about a year left to finish the series. So
set your clocks. Fortunately, we're getting into some pretty juicy stuff here, particularly in the last chapter. But just to catch everybody up, I'll give my little summary of what happened in these chapters. In chapter 1094, we have Atlas turning the pacifistas against the Marines on Egghead. Sanji jumps down and rescues Bonnie from some wacky vice admirals. Luffy clocks Kizaru. He had him seeing stars. Just bopped him on the head, and Saturn's demonic form is revealed as Bonnie attacks. And in the most recent chapter, 1095, we see everybody reacts to Saturn. Frankie saves Luffy from being jabbed by Saturn's claw. Saturn reveals that Kuma was born to the extinct Buccaneer people who committed a great sin against the world. Where have I heard that before? Bonnie recalls Kuma telling her the story of Nika. In a flashback, Kuma and his parents are enslaved. His mother dies. His father is shot before his eyes. And a couple years later, he is among a group of slaves used in the Celestial Dragon's human hunt on God Valley, where he tries to escape and meets a young Emporio Ivankov and someone else named Ginny. So, where to begin?
Well, let's begin at the beginning. And what is it? 1094. The color spread.
Yeah.
This is intriguing because it's not going the route that I think a lot of us just assumed that the story was going, which is a standard retelling of Monsters, which would have started with the characters established in Monsters and finished with the end of the chapter. No, it does not seem to be that at all. You wanted your Zoro backstory? You are getting your Zoro backstory in the form of an anime. And it looks to be made specifically for power scalers. So this seems to be the power scaler anime. Congratulations to everyone who didn't know they wanted this, because now you're getting it. And it looks pretty groovy. Of course, we are making all of these conclusions based on this color spread, which it doesn't seem that like Oda would promote anything in this form if it didn't address all of these characters who were included in here. We have, of course, Kuina, Kyoshiro, her grandfather. Who else is Yuma? Is here as well, and somebody interesting in the upper left-hand corner who is probably our mysterious character that nobody really is familiar with yet. Maybe Zoro's father. Who knows? Some people are, I believe there's a red use in the color spread, and some people were like, "Is that Zoro? Is that just Zoro? In red?"
Or is that supposed to be the non-zombie?
Is that the non-zombie Yuma? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the, how do we say, perhaps main character of the story? I mean, it seems to focus on Zoro here, but if we're talking about Monsters, then Yuma is kind of the main character. So who is that? Very interesting question. The hair certainly seems to be Zoro-like, and the eye as well. Seems to have that similar family look to it, but who knows at this level? All we know are that dragons are probably going to be cut down.
Yes.
What do you think they're going to do? Do you think they're going to do? They're going to finish it off with a redo of Zoro finishing off King? You think that's kind of what this is?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's possible, not to just throw cold water on your theory here, but it could just be that, like, as a commemoration of Monsters, which does have the subtitle that they use in the color spread here, which was Zoro's move against King about the dragon damnation and the 103 mercies, I think is how I translated it. So obviously there is, like, they're drawing a direct parallel there, but it could also just be like, okay, Oda says, okay, I'm just going to draw a Zoro spread to commemorate this. We're going to put in a bunch of Zoro related characters, and that's my kind of tribute to this maybe parallel world version of of Ryuma. But it could also be what you're saying. It could be that they're going to tie it in directly to One Piece.
I'm gonna say some crazy stuff, and feel free not to agree, everybody listening. But I do wonder, because of all these characters, and I cannot believe that Oda would just hype it up with Zoro and these characters here, and then have the story deal with a completely different setting that doesn't explore them as well. So I have to wonder if some of this is going to occur during Wano. If we're going to get like a Gaiden story. And this is either Zoro in a fever dream after he defeats King, or even if it's in some to the side, heretofore unseen section of the story that we hadn't experienced yet, that leads up to the defeat of King. And I can't help just looking at this, especially how Oda likes to hint towards things in his artwork, that the climax, the action climax of the story will be kind of a flash back and forth between Zoro defeating King in the present and Ryuma defeating the dragon in the past. Because the animation is so insane in the episode where Zoro defeats King. I mean, it looks like a movie. How do you outdo that? Why would you try to outdo that? And I think the only answer to doing that is to literally up the ante and try to do two of them at once, which seems like a real like 90s extreme response. But also it seems viable. That's just, I don't know, some of the exciting shonen gokuro ideas I've had ever since I saw this. But yeah, very exciting colors.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. I don't think we still don't have any hint on when that's supposed to be coming out yet, I believe. So
I have not been following it, but
we'll just have to wait and see.
Now, you have no idea how hard I laughed when I read this chapter, because we basically got done, talking about what's going to be in the next chapter, and you jokingly said, and countdown to the next hierarchy chart, and within 2 panels,
yes,
there's the hierarchy, the permissions chart. Oh my god! I don't even think he labeled it, right? He didn't even label it. He just drew it.
He just drew the list. Yeah,
perfect.
Yep.
All right. So with a chapter title like this, as lengthy and kind of gyogyoshi, I forget the
ornate,
ornate or pompous, pompously ornate kind of chapter title as this. Yes, we were should be expecting something interesting before the end of the chapter, and boy, did we get it. I'm not so much invested in the Vegatank activities here, but oh my god! And Oda again with this drawing his. I don't want to draw, quote unquote panty shots, but like now, all in on this thing. It seems.
I didn't get to say this when we did the manga recap for this chapter, but she's doing like a Bayonetta move where she just does like a crazy cartwheel. Yeah,
that's so true. It is. It's completely that. I am so in love with how she's able to manipulate age to this. What is it? It's NDE, right?
NDE, near death.
Yeah, near death experience. Fantastic use of ability power, rather than just I make things old.
Right.
Because we've seen that. We've seen that with Ain, and again with Shinobu. Which makes you question like what makes her unique, what makes her special, and it's very much abilities like NDE that set her apart from the others. So nice to see that. Finally, at least for me, the mystery of this young sounding grandma who is just terrifyingly old but has this extraordinarily young hairstyle and demeanor is answered. She's been terrifying my dreams for weeks, ever since she first appeared. It seems that her whole, I don't know, battalion, if you call it, was assaulted by Bonnie, and that's why she appears to be so old. Is because she's actually quite young. Actually, no, it would be hilarious if she's just like 5 years younger, and she looks almost exactly the same. She's changed back.
So you think that she's under the effect? I thought this was just her because she says like turn my soldiers back.
Yeah,
but
I
she
was
doesn't
wondering
talk about herself.
Yeah, uchi no heitai domo ni kaketa. I was wondering if she is included. I mean, uchi no heitai domo is directly talking about it's saying them, but I do wonder if she is also part of that. Is she putting her soldiers before herself? Does she not really care what happened to her so much as to the soldiers, which is again a very Oda thing to do, especially for honorable characters. So I am interested to see where that goes. And yes, I am in the she's actually younger than that camp. But then another Oda way to handle that would be like she's actually only like 5 years younger or something like that. It doesn't look that different.
Did you have? No, I think I kind of tried to explain this, although it was hard. So her power, the nori nori no mi, that literally is intended to, it's the riding fruit. So she puts that handle or whatever on the pacifista, and then she can control him. But to me, it seemed immediately apparent that like her youthful vibes is nori nori is in in a different sense of the word, which is like you're just grooving, you're just
exactly
you're just vibing with, and that's why she has like the Beats by Dre headphones and all of that stuff.
She's a DJ. Is nori nori daze? It's a very common thing in Japan. Yeah. Oh, nori nori daze. I say this joke every time in class because I'm like, all right, everybody take out your glue sticks. And like, all right, I have one glue stick. I have two glue sticks. I am nori nori. And all the kids groan because it's such an oyaji gag. But yeah, it's good. Nori is glue in Japanese as well. So, but yes, her whole look and everything is definitely coming from the fruit, which is she's like a DJ. And let's see, Sea Otter Man is fantastic.
Yeah, we didn't get a formal introduction to him though.
Yeah, interesting. But it's obviously those are just things that come up with Oda's notes, where he scribbles down characters for ideas for silly characters, and sort of in the what is it Hammond was that Hammond who was the giraffe guy.
Hamlet.
Hammond.
Hammond's a very different character.
Hammond is Hammond the?
He was the guy from Fishman
the eel?
Island.
The eel guy? Yeah, okay. Hammond. Oh, because he's a hamo. Yeah, okay.
Hamo, yeah.
So Rako Hama. I didn't put it together until he said Rako Hammer, because I was trying to be like, why does he look? There's something that does seem animalistic about him, but like I can't figure what animal Oda is going for. And even when I saw the damn hammer, like earlier on, I was just like, what is it? I don't understand what's on the end of his thing. And then of course, Sea Otter hammer. Oh, of course, he's doing the smash thing, which was, I don't know, for me it was a little bit full circle, because that's how we started out with the Baroque Works having the Sea Otter, Mr. 13.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It's been quite some time since we've seen Oda take that approach to design inspiration. So
I was reminded of something even older. Now, obviously, I think this guy just has. I mean, I don't know. It's not indicated that there's any like special power or anything particularly interesting about his clamshell thing, but just the visual of a guy swinging a pole arm weapon with a big old honking thing on the end that's very dangerous. Just kind of reminded me of Don Krieg's spear a little bit. That one, of course, infamously had explosive power somehow that would like detonate when he hit stuff. But just something about that type of weapon that reminded me of him.
That was without question the most absurd and like eye-rolling part of this. it was before I was like full on fan.
Mm-hmm.
That section of the story, and when he hit the point where it's like, yeah, not only do I have this heavy spear, but when I hit stuff, it explodes. It's just like, okay, I don't know if this is for me. I just got out of Dragon Ball, like this is a bit much.
Oh no,
but yeah.
Okay. He was the guy with all of the he was the action figure who had all of the accessories.
Yes. Which of course Netflix in season 1 was just like, please don't make us. Right. So I guess we'll skip along in the chapter because there's a lot of setting up. But first thing of interest to me, at least, I don't know if you have anything to say up to this point, but is the pentagram.
Mm-hmm.
Why is this interesting? Why? I briefly threw this into our private chat, Stephen. I don't know if you picked up on it. I know the other guys didn't pick up on it because it was meant to be a silly throwaway, but nonetheless, it is interesting. We've been calling these people Gorose, since volume 25. Mm-hmm. And what is that a reference to, or what is that a play on? And this is the first suggestion. Well, not. We don't know for sure. We'll have to see the others and what they're capable of. But this does seem to suggest that it might be a play on Gobose, which is pentagram, literally pentagram. It's very, very close. Mm-hmm. And they do make a point of referring to it not by that name. They call it the Majin, the Maboljin, which is I'm guessing just like magic circle or.
Yeah, it's basically any JRPG that you play where you summon the bad guy or you cast a magic spell and there's a big fancy circle thing that appears on the ground. That's Mahojin. That's a magic circle.
All right. So, casting that with the 5s in it, obviously referencing the Gorose, and also possibly being Gobose itself. Which I'm not suggesting that would necessarily have any deep plot implications. Just would be a possible play on words in the origin of the term. What did you find interesting about this most? I mean, it's like yes, teleportation, or what appears to be teleportation, is pretty crazy. What's super, super interesting to me is how it explodes. Why the hell does it explode? What is it? Some sort of is this is Oda maintaining rules of physics, like matter? If matter is transporting, then it must discharge the effort that it was taken to transport it. What do you think is going on there, or is it an attack that comes through it?
You're referring to when it first kind of pops in and goes boom.
Yes,
in that one panel. Okay.
Yes, very cool panel, by the way. I've been rough on Oda lately, but I do like how that's depicted with the Vega tank in the foreground going up and.
Oh, okay, you're talking about the side view one.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I did like that panel too. That was a very cinematic angle to it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you could say that it's just sort of like visual flair. I don't know. I feel like it's going to be. Well, I mean, we can talk about just the nature of his presumably his fruit. I would assume that he appears to be we talked about this, a gyuki or ushioni, which is a very fearsome looking type of oni or yokai that is it's named for an ox. It's like an ox demon, but it has like spider like qualities to it. And so if you assume then that that is maybe a mythical model of some kind of like demon fruit or something like that, like literal devil fruit, maybe there's something to that classification, that they can be summoned, or they can make their appearance from a spell, a magic circle on the ground or whatever. and maybe that has certain physical properties to it. I'm not sure. It's still vague enough that I'm like, okay, I'm not going too far with the theories yet.
You have unfortunately opened up the Pandora box
Mm-hmm.
of what this means for the Gorosei.
Right.
And we can probably assume at this point, given the shadows, literally all of them. Right. So, yokai. I don't even know where to begin with this because I have a lot to say about him, of course. But what do yokai even mean for the series? Because we've had lots of mythical fruits. This does not appear to be our world. It doesn't seem to be like one of those. Our world was actually in the distant past. But they do have legends and ideas and references to characters that we do know, mythical characters we do know, we're aware of. And the question is, where do the myths begin, and what is purely myth, and what was actually something in their world, what actually existed? And heretofore, all references to yokai have been purely references. In other words, I think I listed a couple of them out the other day on Twitter, so it would be helpful if I could remember all of them. But on Wano, we had obviously Black Maria, who was, what is it, the Jigoromo or something?
The
spider.
I just want to say Queen Spider. Yeah,
I am terrible at yokai. That's not me. That's
Joro-Ogumo, I think, is the
Joro-Ogumo. Yes,
Yeah.
Thank you. The yokai guy is Matthew Mercer. He lives down the street from me, so you can ask him. And that's not a joke. He actually, the famous yokai guy actually does live down the street from me. And her whole entourage is are based on yokai, and they all seem to come from smiles. They all seem to be smile failures.
Yeah.
Mom's entourage are based on item yokai.
Yes. The Tsukumogami style, like the parasol and the nurikabe and all those kind of guys.
Yes. Those are all yokai references. My goodness. You've got Onimaru.
Hebion, the teacher.
Excuse me. I wanted to mention her. Yes, she's the Rokurokubi with the long neck. You've got Onimaru, who is the fox. Is a famous kind of. I don't know if you can call that yokai.
That's maybe more folklore.
It's more
in
folklore.
General, but
I'm going to guess there's some yokai in there that is a kitsune or something like that. So it's in there. We'll call it. The form, his form itself is definitely that's not yokai. That's more like, I don't know, like you said, folklore. But it doesn't end there for one, I'm sure. Oh my God, kappa. Kawamatsu is a kappa.
Yes.
Even though he's not a kappa. Again, that's a reference. And I'm completely drawing a blank from all the ones that weren't on Wano, which is unfortunate at the time. But there were a ton of references to yokai throughout the series. Like, oh my God, is it a yokai or is it this or that? My point is, all of them were references. None of them were actual yokai. This is the real deal. It's like as real as Sengoku being, like Buddha. Like this is their world's like Buddha. Whoever created the devil fruits, like this was their idea of what Buddha is. Now, there is always the possibility that what we're seeing here is not necessarily devil fruit. It certainly seems to be. I mean, it seems that way. But let's just leave that possibility open, that because we don't know their shotai or what they truly are, that it could be something different, even more ancient. We don't really know. But if Oda's keeping in theme, then it would seem to be a devil fruit. Although this guy seems pretty stacked, I got to say that he has abilities that are just like if this if this pentagram teleportation is a devil fruit ability, like, my God. I think the first idea that came to me, a friend of mine read the chapter, and he was like, I wonder if he's a trapdoor spider. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting idea. Yeah, is the Kumo in this a trapdoor spider?
Interesting.
But yeah, that's kind of.
I was literally just thinking of Bluno, like his power to seemingly teleport, right? I guess that would probably hinge on whether or not I don't know what the term for that would be in Japanese, if that tracks 1-to-1. But that would be in the Black Maria vein, where she just had a some ancient kind of spider. She was not the mythical Jorogumo model. So yeah.
All right. So I guess now getting more into this form itself. We see and I'm going to forget it every single time because I don't care to remember it or practice remembering it. The biggest hint that this is devil fruit related is the kind of cloth that goes around him. It's not a cloth; it's made of cloud, whatever, steam coming off of him. But that is our suggestion that this is an awakened devil fruit. In addition, you could argue the spindly design on the legs as well. Could also be awakened themed design, but that's up to Oda.
Yeah.
Do you know specifically what kind of Gyuki he is of Bull Demon?
No, I didn't. I did not know that there were different kinds.
Okay. Let me see if I can get the name here properly, because I don't want to. I don't think it's Tsuchigumo. I think it's maybe Goromo, like the woman. Yokai. That's not going to work. Maybe it is just Tsuchigumo. It is just Tsuchigumo.
It is Tsuchigumo. Okay.
Yep. Okay. Tsuchigumo. If you look up some of the like classical Japanese scroll paintings of Tsuchigumo, it's basically a 1-to-1 for this fellow. And let me ask you, Stephen. You had a question for me, and I'm going to ask you a little bit more difficult question. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but it would be interesting if you pick this up on the air. What is interesting about the name Tsuchigumo? It's not a tough name or anything. It's literally what it sounds like, ground spider. What is interesting about that name and the name of this character?
Tsuchigumo and Satan. J. Garcia Satan.
With less focus on the J. Garcia, because that's more modern, just like,
Right. I don't know. I mean, I definitely, the similarity was not lost on me that we see him turn into a demon where his name is very, very close to Satan. So I don't know if that's where you were going with it, but
what is Saturn?
Saturn is Dulce. Oh yeah, that's it. That Dulce, the soil planet, or the Earth planet as they call it.
Yes.
Interesting. Huh.
Now, I will not claim this for myself. This was from Luffy 420. 420 Land is a famous
okay, from Hong Kong. Yes.
Has been in the SBS before, and has some fantastic theories. But they brought this to light, and were suggesting other yokai with, you wouldn't immediately associate it with planets, but kanji that make up the names of the planets. So one for Jupiter includes wood, Venus includes gold, Mars including fire. And Mercury or Workury including water. Now you look at some of these renditions of them from the hall when Sabo saw them, and some of them can look like they can be pretty close. You got like a Umi Bozu. Oh, that's it, Umi Bozu. My God, Wadatsumi. We were talking about the yokai references. When they saw Wadatsumi for the first time, they were like, Umibozu, Umibozu. Umibozu is another kind of yokai.
Right.
You got the blobby-looking one, which could be, it certainly could be an Umibozu. But the idea being that all of these are probably going to be yokai-themed. And that's a lot to draw from, from just their shadowy figures, and the fact that one of them is. However, when you consider this name reference, and then that one of them looks very close to what could possibly be a tengu, or the Japanese three-legged crow that the Japanese soccer team also takes as their mascot of sorts. It does seem that they could all be yokai, not the least of which reason is for do you remember what Sabo said in that scene when he's surrounded by them?
Yeah, he says that there's God, what was it? It was like, I can't believe that it's like hell, at the very top of the world or something.
Yes,
like that.
Dude.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And at the time, you're just like, oh my God, it's such a great Oda line, because you read it and you're just like, okay, I guess he's saying that because it's a dire situation. No, he's saying it because it actually resembles yokai. It feels like a yokai, like the Buddhist hell, basically being surrounded by, I don't know, the demon, the Chikusho, and the Oni, and all of these things. So I'm so excited to see what the rest of these are like, and if that call was accurate or not. But if it is, hats off to Oda, because his naming references and naming patterns, I don't think have been absolutely the greatest in recent years. But if he carries through on this one, and each of them who has the planet names is also a reference to a type of yokai, hats off, Oda. I know this stuff doesn't matter in storytelling, especially to Oda most of all, but like as a reader, it's so fun to go through and speculate about. So,
yeah, very interested to see the rest of these guys.
All right, so that's kind of my spiel on Jay Garcia for the time being. You mentioned Oda clocking Kizaru.
Luffy.
And, excuse me, Oda. Well, technically, no.
Yeah.
Yes. Luffy clocking Kizaru here. So he literally sees stars. A good friend of mine who has followed One Piece for years, and he's from East Asia, and he's very critical of One Piece in a good way. He's always looking for justification for he has these strict ideas, and he's wondering if there's justification for why his ideas are overboard. And he's basically like, if Luffy could have clocked Kizaru like that, like why didn't he do that at the start? And it's a fair question, but like he's like, why didn't he just burst through his head? Like what is the point? And I think the point, like, why bother making his head rubber if he's going to punch it? Because if he makes it rubber, doesn't it just soften the blow? Which is a fair question. Why does he bother making the opponent's body, like he's done with Lucci as well? Why did he bother making it rubber? Because it seems it would be able to take more punishment if he didn't. And I think the reason is because it's literally it's allowing them to transform. It's allowing whatever magical body processes are going on, whatever law has, right, to keep his heart, still pumping through the body, separate from the body. Whatever laws of physics are being broken there.
Yeah.
The head is being maintained, but the exact same quote unquote damage or physical disturbance is occurring that would occur otherwise. Because you notice when law squeezes hearts and things, people are like, ugh, right?
Right.
It doesn't adapt to it. So like he's literally braining the guy. It's like his brain can survive. It is the gray matter and everything is quote unquote connected because of magic. But but it's like scrambling his brains. And that's why it's such a powerful attack. And I think that's the explanation for that he was looking for, is that it's not so much about giving physical damage as what it's literally doing to his brain, literally scrambling his brain up. I think that's my 2 cents justification for it. I don't know if somebody else has a better idea for that or theory behind that, but
yeah, I mean, it is. I feel like that's a very, I don't know, academic is the right word, but that's you know, an elaborate way of describing what what everyone kind of, I think, naturally intuits when they see, you know, the image itself of, you know, him just kind of going pow, like right through Kizaru's head. It's a fanciful way of depicting, you know, kind of what it would feel like, I guess, to get hit like that.
Yes.
The big old boxing punch.
And I think that brings us basically to the end of the chapter. Of course, you had stabby stab at the very tail end, and we all knew, you know, that wasn't going to do anything. But the point is that she basically threw her life away to do that, which is super cool. And given the implications of, you know, how old she might actually be, that is super badass.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I love this side of Bonnie that we're seeing.
Yeah, and it's very much it's a very accurate, I think, extrapolation of you know, all of the emotions that she has been showing related to Kuma, and you know, all of that. It's really coming to a head right here, because she feels like she's finally found, you know, the person responsible. Now here's a question for you that just occurred to me, because we kind of talked about this a little bit. When you get the voiceover that is clearly either Saturn or one of the five elders, although let's assume it's Saturn, ordering Vegapunk to do the operation on Kuma. Do you think that was just sort of creative license of, like, I'm just going to play this dialogue from a scene that occurred in the past over this, or do you think this is something that Bonnie actually witnessed, either personally or in the chamber of Kuma's past?
Yeah, due to the memories, anything goes. Oda can morph that how he wants it. I'm not saying he doesn't have it already defined, but like when he was coming up with that idea, thanks to how he presented that, he can run any which way with that, whatever makes the most sense dramatically. So I don't know if I have any expectations for that per se, just because it can go however he wants it to affect us the most, due to that. But yeah, I'm sorry I don't have a better take on that for you.
That's cool. So that's 1094, and we pretty much pick up right where we left off on 1095. With
I think it's more of the establishment of, like, can't see this, right? Like, we got to get out of here because we're not allowed to see this, which is good justification for why these forces are so mysterious. And by these forces, I mean, you know, the powers of the Gorosei. I keep calling them Gorosei. Sorry, the elders. Because people aren't supposed to see this. You're not supposed to see it, and if you do see it, then you're dead. So, by the way, that eye power is another thing that's just like,
I mean, I did see. Well, apparently, one of the, if I am relaying this information properly, is that one of the, depending on, you know, which source you read or which legend or whatever, is that the Tsuchigumo or the Gyuki, you know, like if you look into its eyes, you will die or something like that. So,
oh, no way, really?
That could be, that could be just taken straight from the folklore, which would be cool. Obviously, it's not quite like a full on Medusa style, since it kind of seems like he has to activate it, with the way that his eyes will flash in certain panels when he's, you know, menacing them.
Yeah. And they're also, like, Um, he's saying they avoid it, right? They're avoiding yoku de oru wa.
Yeah.
And then Sanji comes in. And what was interesting here, Sanji is, I think, restrained at some point. And this is jumping ahead a little bit.
He jumps in to try to save Bonnie because he's got Bonnie in his hand, his big, monstrous hand. And Sanji, like, basically just, like, he just bonks into, like, a seemingly invisible wall. And he's running toward Saturn's face. He's running straight at him. So, maybe it's a mental thing that he can, like, like a barrier, like Bartolomeo. Or...
Oh, damn it. Is he in the pentagram? Do you think he's standing
that's a good question.
Yeah. I don't know if he's even moved, right?
Yeah, I mean, we can't really tell based on...
Well, the anime won't answer it all, but... Okay. And
yes, and then of course he pulls out the sword, and his beard magically heals, or at least the blood vanishes. So another questionable. I mean, I could see based on the blood disappearing, I could also see maybe some explanation that this is sort of like a projection or an avatar of some kind. That the real Saturn is still on the ship or something like that. And
in that case, then why would it bleed to begin with?
Yeah,
I'm not trying to be Mr. Contrarian, right. but yeah, Chiga Kieta. It's interesting that he brings that up, isn't it? Like he could just have it disappear, and like that would be Oda trying to be like, look, this doesn't really make sense, but like I'm clearly depicting that the wound has healed.
Yes,
but Chiga Kieta is. Like
the blood disappeared
from his beard. Like how did you dye your beard as well in addition to healing? So. I really like that Kizaru is still down from that hit. That is so cool, and Kizaru admitting it, just being like that was a good hit.
Yeah.
Oh, so they kind of did each other out there. Luffy a timing factor, and Kizaru actually, for the time being, bested. So that's at a draw. And Frankie coming in at the 11th hour and smacking the shit out of Luffy to save his life. I love the sound effect. He's hit.
Oh man.
And
an interesting comment from Saturn that a cooperative pirate crew.
Yes.
I mean, I guess that could be a direct comparison to kind of where the story heads by the end of this chapter, but it's not the first thing you would expect someone to say is like, a pirate crew that's cooperating. Like, okay, well, what? I wonder what prior experience he has that is making this such a novelty to him.
I have a question for you, Stephen.
What's up?
Now, I do translation work myself, but I am no master of Japanese by any definition yet. There are still many, 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 many things that I do not know. And I learn from week to week. Is this Kyoryoku Gata a little bit strange to you? Why isn't it Kyoryoku Teki or anything like that? Why is it Kyoryoku Gata? That sounds so highfalutin and so strange.
So yes, for our listeners, Kyoryoku is cooperation, and yes, you could say if it ended with Teki, that would basically just be turning it into an adjective. So a cooperative, a pirate crew. I guess depending on the context, that could also come off sounding like it might parse as like a cooperative, as in like, oh, they're helping us, or they're cooperating. It doesn't necessarily imply internally cooperative group. But yeah, having it be gatai, which is like form or model or something like that. It's a memorable choice of words, I would say. I don't know if there's any more like profound significance to that. But it definitely stands out as like, okay, he's clearly reacting to something in his prior experience that would cause him to make this comment, I feel like.
All right. Now, that is the answer I was hoping to hear, because that is kind of what I had in my head canon. And unfortunately, I was trying to lead us to a point, which is, it's very odd how he refers to people, and he talks about people. He talks about them very, not only us and them, but as if he's observing something that he doesn't fully understand. And this Kyoryo Kagata seemed to be to me another aspect of that, in that it's something that he's observing, and almost like how Oda uses katakana in his use of like the words for like sun. The fishermen use, they refer to the sun as this katakana term because they don't understand it.
Right.
And obviously, if Oda was going to carry that exact same nuance, then he would have done it here as well, which he did not. But he does make a point, I think it's once or twice in this chapter, where he calls people ningen wa.
Ningen, yes.
Ningen wa. And is there even a kyocho on that? Do they have the 1010?
No.
No? Damn. All right.
No, but he's said that, in this, string of chapters, where we see him talking about, like, oh, humans are like vermin, they're like insects, they'll just multiply and replace what is lost and stuff like that. So he's definitely very pointedly used the word human. And it's kind of interesting because there's another word that you could take as human, which is just hito, which is like person. And in Japanese, as you obviously know, that can also just be like a code word for like other people, or like someone, like if you say, hito, it just means like, oh, well, someone else might do that, or someone else might do this or that. But he always uses ningen and makes it very clear that he's talking about like humans as if they are a separate entity that he is not, one of. Which is,
yeah. And with the reference to planets, with planets being in the name, I don't know. I mean, this story sounds like it's going so big, that like was there an ancient war for resources on other planets, and this was like the last planet that had resources that they could use? Did they outdo themselves? Was it literally warring planets, and these are the council that was left of representatives of the planets? I know that's really out there, but like some of these lines and some of these references that are in these names and how they carry themselves, some of it is pointing in those directions. So I'm just throwing it out there. Especially with names like Lunarians and
yes.
But anyway, moving along in the chapter, I think that's pretty much it in terms of what I have to say about Jay Garcia for both these chapters now. Other than the fact that I want to see more.
Yeah. Well, we kind of get a shift from Saturn at this point to Kuma, because he starts dropping some hot knowledge here with the Buccaneers, the Bakaniazoku.
Yes.
Which was
the Sorbet Kingdom.
Yeah.
Which we had the name for, I believe. That's one of the first things is when we saw Old Bonnie. And now we know why there's royalty involved, is because he is the heir to this country that he never got to be even so much as a prince of.
Well,
which was a surprise.
I don't actually know that we see. So this is one of the things that I wanted to bring up is they don't look like his parents don't look like royalty in the brief part of this flashback that we see, prior to all the bad stuff happening. So I was very curious. I almost wondered if it's like a little bit of like a Count of Monte Cristo situation where, in that story, he's a normal guy who gets imprisoned, and then his revenge story is he plots and gets out of prison and then becomes independently wealthy and comes back to to get his vengeance on the people who the people who wronged him, as a count, having risen to the rank of count. And so I kind of wonder if Kuma being the former king of Sorbet Kingdom is something that happened after what we're seeing here in his childhood.
That's interesting.
That's
very interesting.
Yeah, they just his dad Clap and his mom, they just kind of look like normal people here. Doesn't seem, or at least he doesn't give us any outright signs that they are the king and queen.
See, my take on that was they were enslaved at the time, so their country had already been inhabited or taken over, and so that his father and mother were royalty there, but it had been taken over. That is interesting, though. I did not consider that aspect, and that's very possible for Oda to take that kind of inspiration for a character as well. So very, very, very cool take there. I'll file that under my considerations. But let's see. Oda really putting the pedal to the metal on this, huh?
Yeah.
Like, let's get to the good part.
The good part of the bad part.
My coworker, my coworkers were even just like, I don't know if I've ever seen him. Is this going at the speed I think it is? And yes, it totally is. The doctor, oh, don't worry, I'll never tell you. I'll never let him know. Two panels later, sorry, I told him. I get why he was doing that. Like it's just the speed, the pace of it is comical, but I get why.
Yeah, it's a story that he has told in similar fashion before. So, I think a lot of the dramatic angles to it would seem a little overly familiar if you drew them out to a chapter's length.
We are also told how this tale of Nika is passed down, and why Kuma would be aware of it, and that makes some good sense. Moving down to 38 years ago in West Blue, the battle royale that they have once every 3 years. We have some treasure chests here, and have you seen Film Red?
I have.
By the end of this, I do believe it's probably one of these treasure chests that Shanks will end up in.
Yeah, that's right. Because
Yori ni yotte, for whatever reason, I think that's maybe what's going to happen here.
And Shanks being baby Shanks coming out of the treasure chest, was that I don't remember if that. Did that come from Film Red, or was that in Roger's flashback?
That was in Film Red.
That was in Film Red. Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
So, a little bit of setup here. We find out that this setting is God Valley. When you see God Valley with black panels around it, stuff is going down.
Oh, yeah.
Very quickly, the king of God Valley is taken care of once again.
He went down.
Hey, you can't do... Okay.
Yeah.
And we find out the unfortunate reality that, yes, they are doing a human hunt. They're doing a battle royale sort of thing for survival. Surviving the game. And we've got Figerland, who is just a great guy, isn't he? Wow, I mean... Talk about apples falling from trees.
It's interesting that he's, very pointedly. Well, I mean, if we're assuming, of course, that Shanks is a blood relative. It would make sense that Garling is also very handsome himself in his youth here.
Yeah.
But it's definitely notable, compared to the rest of the rank and file celestial dragons being so hideous all the time.
But he wins out on the haircut department.
Yes,
that's where he makes up for it.
Yeah, he knew the style that was hot in his youth, and he's been clinging to it ever since. He will not give up the moon haircut. Yeah,
gross. I don't know. I see like 80s McDonald's commercials. That's all I see.
Exactly. Yeah, Mac tonight.
We see a little bit of the aftermath of the flashback. No, I don't know, flashback or memory of where Kuma was being pursued and captured in the field.
Yes.
We see what happens immediately after that. And oh boy, the next page. Talk about unexpected. Like this is. I mean, you talk about fan service and like the sexy kind of fan service. No, this is the good fan service that you want. This is the literally servicing your fans by giving them something they didn't want, but would have liked but didn't know they needed.
Yes.
And that is the connection between Ivankov and Kuma. Like how did they know each other? How did they come to know each other?
Why are they so close? Yeah.
Yeah. These two being a little bit younger, I did look at their ages before this, and I didn't do the exact math, but like Dragon would have been a little bit older than both of them at this point. So he can very easily be involved in this as a kind of Oni-san kind of character that leads the two of them, which again, not necessary. But if he is woven in here, especially we know that Garp is present here for whatever events are about to unfold.
Yes.
So this is a way to tie in that trio and make their bonds strong enough to the point where even, 30 something years later, they are, 38 years later, they are willing to dedicate their lives to this cause. We were talking about odds earlier, placing bets on the pronunciation of Luffy. Oh God, what are the odds on Ginny here surviving this ordeal? I don't like them, Stephen. I don't like them very much.
I definitely had a is this a character? Do we know this character? Have we seen this? No, this name has not been used before. I don't think it's a shorthand for someone that we know in the future, so that's probably a bad sign. If you're a new character showing up in a One Piece flashback.
Yeah. Do you want to know the craziest part of this?
What's that?
No, I know there are freckles and whatever, right? Okay, I know that's the thing. What if Ginny is Crocodile?
Oh man. How old is Crocodile?
It's is it 30s? I think he's in his 30s.
Yeah.
Like 30, 31. I might be mistaking him for Mihawk. Or is he in his 40s? Was he near Frankie? I knew this at some point in history. Crocodile One Piece. Now, I do not subscribe to this at all. It would just be a great Oda troll. It would be an awesome Oda troll for like that to be the answer.
I mean, she's literally got the troll face in this.
46.
Panel.
He's currently 46. So like age-wise, I don't think it adds up. How old is Ivankov? I don't think Ivankov is 46.
Or is Ivankov 50-something?
No way. 50, 53? Holy shit.
Ivankov.
It could be possible.
See, I've seen a lot of the theories of like whose mom is Ginny, you know, presuming that she grew to adulthood. Like, is this Luffy's mom? Is this, you know, all that sort of stuff.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I don't know. This just, it feels a little. I hope she survives for the sake of the story, because introducing her at this point in One Piece's history, what we know about the future of the series, I would be more surprised if she is alive than if something sad happens to her.
Right.
And if something sad happens to her, I don't know if I'm all on board because of how she's being introduced here. Things just seem so grim for her at this junction that, and I don't know, you think, oh my God, is this like reverse psychology? Like, is Oda hoping that we're going to hope that she comes out of this, and that's why it's gonna hurt even more when he pulls the rug out from under her? You evil, terrible genius, you.
Yeah.
But it's just this Aniki, right? So
yeah, that's an interesting point that we don't actually know if that's familial or if that's you know. Well, I mean, speaking of Frankie, bringing back the Star Spangled Speedo here.
Yeah, he's got the pose almost going on and everything. And
yeah,
maybe that's just an Oda thing, but like, I mean, you know what? He's got the underlashes too.
Yeah.
What the hell? Are they brother? No. Well, I don't know.
Yeah. A lot of possibilities.
And zero of them actually matter, but it's just interesting to consider. But yeah. You know what I do like here, though, is the fact that she has that she's holding that meat, which is showing that regardless of whether they're familial or not, he does provide for her. And that's a really cool way of telling a story without telling a story.
Yeah. Interesting.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
they got a stash somewhere.
But anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it for chapters 1094 and 1095.
Yeah.
What a chapter! Do you think? I guess sort of pulling away from the contents of the chapter. Do you think that we are actually in for a God Valley story? Do you think we're all in on this flashback?
I mean, that was my assumption, but I suppose it's possible that he might kind of do that in two parts, like just show us enough. Because the other thing is too, and I hate to like sort of try breaking things down in like counting chapters, but you know, we are 5 chapters away from 1100, and it does seem like we're poised. And I was originally thinking, okay, well, Oda will give us a little. He'll give us a little, you know, a shorter flashback for Kuma here, and then it'll be right in time for, you know, the ancient robot in the present day to, you know, fully activate and, you know, start messing stuff up. Something crazy, you know, the egghead incident or whatever is going to happen there. Maybe he's going to, you know, it's going to kill Saturn or something, you know, something shocking will happen. I don't know. But now that I think about it, you know, and the different angles and all of the characters involved in the God Valley story as we know it, even more now than before after this chapter. I also wonder, okay, well maybe he's gonna have that tied into this flashback where, you know, it's not going to take part, the chapter itself is not going to take part in the present day. It's going to be if there is a big reveal or some really awesome moment, that it will be in the story of God Valley. I don't know. But it's
That's interesting because there is the parallel there, isn't there? What's going to happen on Egghead is going to be akin to what happened on God Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Because God Valley didn't, quote unquote, change the world. The status quo was maintained after it. But it did set in motion certain players who have
Mm-hmm.
made a big impression on the world.
Right.
So this should be in a similar vein. So if he tells the God Valley story to completion here, it could end on exactly that kind of point, bringing us back into the present, where something very similar to that occurs in the modern story right now in time. Oh, that's interesting. That would be poignant. That's an excellent point. Wow.
Yep.
I guess we'll have to find out next chapter.
Yeah. We'll get an idea of, I think, what his plans are once we see if he continues to chart the same pace that he did in these couple pages here. It may not be very long of a flashback, but I think you're right. I think he was just trying to get to the good stuff.
Yep. All right.
Okay, I think that'll do it for our discussion of these chapters. Now, we did have some questions. The manga recap last week for this 1095 apparently went so long that they were unable to get to the piece together questions. So I think that's what we're going to draw on for our listener questions. So let's take a quick ad break, and we'll be right back and get into some questions. You just want to get on the mic, don't you? And we're back, and we're going to do some SGS here. In this case, we are taking, this is largely this piece, but if you would like to submit your questions for this, anytime there's a break coming up, if you are a Patreon member, you can get hooked up on Discord, and we have a special SGS channel where you can submit your questions, or you can put them on Twitter with the hashtag SGS Sensei, all one word. Yes, in this case, as I just mentioned, I think we're basically getting the piece together questions from last week, so they will probably be pretty 1095 centric. So I will start here with Felix Cutler, who says, "Hi, Greg and Steven. Your bets of how long this flashback lasts. What do you guys wish to see? We know Rox was at God Valley. Maybe we are going to see some of his crew. So far, we know Whitebeard, Kaido, Big Mom, and Shiki were in his crew. If we see this clash, Garp and Roger's crew might appear too, and maybe we will see Shanks in one of the treasure chests, as well as some cool devil fruits, of course. I bet Shanks is Garling's son or nephew. Can you imagine the scenario which moved Roger and Garp to protect these celestial dragons at God Valley, even though they were eradicating people? This seems to oppose both images I have of Roger and Garp. So what did Rox do to be worse than the celestial dragons?" So that's a pretty good recap of all the stuff, that we might see in this flashback. We did talk about some of those, such as Shanks being in the treasure chest.
I mean, there's a number of questions in there, so I guess just in the interest of being poignant, I'll keep it to how many chapters do I think we'll spend there? Oh boy, it depends. For me, it depends how much he wants to get into Rox. Is he going to tell all of Rox's story here, or do we get only part of it? If we get the entire story, then I would say, we're 5 chapters away from 1,000, 1,100. Can you do it in 5? I don't know if you can do it in 5 if it's the whole story.
Yeah, because that's the other thing is, like, part of the story, presumably. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's not really that important, but we got a lot of kind of unfinished or dangling threads with Kaido and Big Mom, and
so many.
Yeah, and
so
it was basically intimated that the story of Zebek and their experiences on the Rocks Pirates, shaped them
they were
in some ways.
Tragically betrayed.
Yeah,
tragic. I mean, scarred for life, betrayed.
Right.
Rocks made them basically.
Mm-hmm.
Mom to a slightly lesser degree because she was already being controlled by Struyson, but he kind of however he betrayed them, destroyed them, and I guess any of their I don't want to say positively, but optimism for pirating. They all seem to become nihilistic after these events, nihilistic or tyrannical. Except for Whitebeard, who was just like, F this, I want a real family. That's all I want. Which just speaks to his character. But getting back to the point is how can he create all of that drama in 5 chapters now in the series? Previously, I think if you look at something like his earlier stories, he could do it quite easily because his cast was so small and he could be more intimate with each panel. Mm-hmm. But now, especially with all the characters that he's going to want to draw for fans, I don't know if he can do it in 5 chapters. Mm-hmm. So, and also, does he want to finish by 1100? Because he usually does try to, if possible, do something big for the big chapters, the landmark chapters. So I don't know.
I mean,
I would say at least 10 for a decent flashback that deals with that.
Yeah,
if he's going to go that route.
I would agree. If he's going to go that route, I was going to say 10 chapters, maybe or around there. It could be, he could have some, pivotal like central moment in the flashback. Like maybe there's some, maybe there's some One Piece talk. Maybe there's something this or that. He that is like the centerpiece of the flashback that happens on that turning point chapter. It just depends on if he's gonna. That's the real question: is it going to be a full flashback, or is it just telling us what we need to know at this moment?
And you brought up a good point about, does he split it in 2? That was another thing, is he could very easily do that. And at this point in his story, overall story, it would be a unique take for him as well. He's done the kind of staggered flashback with Zoe, and he's certainly done hints of a flashback, but he's never really done a decent part of a flashback, like chapters worth of a flashback, and then taking a break from it and revisiting it later on. He's never really done that. So to see him take that kind of storytelling angle would, to me, be interesting.
Yeah. Let's move on to Wisdom Pythagoras, who says, "Hey SGS, Buccaneers, Giants, what is this? The worst Super Bowl ever?"
Oh God, Al.
I've been wondering why Oda would go out of his way to create this discussion about Bonnie's age, and with this chapter, I think I have one possibility. If she's a quarter Buccaneer, she has some giant blood. Maybe this is enough to give her a very long lifespan like the Giants, but she physically ages like a normal human. And so she would be a child in giant years despite being a fully grown adult in human years. What do you think? Thanks, SGS.
Do we know necessarily that Buccaneers have a different aging?
Not necessarily, but they do have Giants' blood, supposedly. That's what
they have. Giants' blood.
Yeah. And Giants are very
obviously bigger bodies.
Long-lived.
But I don't know that we know that they specifically have long lives. And what is the difference between, say, a Buccaneer and somebody like Doflamingo? Like, does just being big mean that you have Buccaneer blood? Because if so, then there are people on Wano who have Buccaneer blood.
Right.
I can't imagine at this point that Oda's going to ignore that. It seems like such a important plot point because previously, where it just seemed to be like in years past, he likes drawing big things because that's what Oda does. He draws big things,
right.
But nah, with it being like, so are they really that rare? Like, what is there anything that hints that this makes you a buccaneer? Like, how are buccaneers different from big people?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I am also after the Lunarian stuff, and then this, I am getting a little like lost people or lost bloodline fatigue at this point, and I'm sure he has a reason for presenting them in the order or in the way that he has, but I'm kind of resistant to like going too far out on a limb to try to to treat this as like a revelation. But now we go back and we just put everything through this lens and see if it all makes sense or not. So I like right now I'm kind of leaning towards, I think we're only going to find out, if people say that they're Buccaneers, then we'll, then that's, the canonical answer. But that if we haven't heard a peep about that, maybe it's not that complicated. But that is a complete guess on my part.
Yeah, I don't know. At this point, I think I got to plead the fifth because I'm having a difficult time figuring out what is supposed to be the difference between a buccaneer and a big person. Because we heretofore seem to understand that if you are a big person, or even a big head person, you have giant's blood in you. Otherwise, we know that quote unquote normal people are not that size, do not grow to be that size. So what is the difference? What makes a person buccaneer?
Yeah.
I really don't know, and maybe it is the longevity of it. That could entirely be the point. Are they big people who also have decent longevity? I mean, decent by human standards, but
yeah, I don't know. I probably wait to get any confirmation on the aging thing specifically, but I do think it is that's a distinct possibility that he could bring into the story.
One thing I do like about Buccaneer, like in terms of theorizing at this point, is the fact that they also have a name that suggests that they come from off planet. That's really it. Is Buccaneer? We tend to associate it with exploring. The West. This American go west, explore, be a buccaneer, settle.
Are you thinking of pioneers?
Excuse me. I am thinking pioneers. Okay. Buccaneers being on the sea. Similar things on the sea, right? Yes. Excuse me. Sorry, a little bit too much Lewis and Clark there.
But the Buccaneers, historically, the Buccaneers were, I think that was a French term. It is a particular era or kind of localized version, and we often think of it as a synonym for pirate, like a swashbuckler or something like that. But that was what stood out to me, is like, oh, that's interesting that that Oda went to a term that is historically associated with pirating, in this story about pirates, where the pirates are often the good guys, and what that says about Kuma and maybe the historical onus that is on him, and that Luffy will take up whether consciously or not.
But the idea being that if they went to the seas, well, did they go to the seas of the stars? That's a big question that is in one of the book series that I read that I can't talk with anybody about because nobody reads it, and it's just you know how it is. What is different from a pirate exploring the seas than from exploring the stars? And Japan has certainly explored that in a number of series. that are historically famous. But like, is that what he's going for? Were these people who came from other planets searching for something else, and they happened upon this planet in ancient times? I talk a lot about space. It's not like I got a space thing, but it's just
it's on the
a
mind.
lot. It's a lot seems to be lining up for that.
Okay. We have Red Kunoichi who says, "Hey OPP, what a great chapter! I love the history we're getting for Kuma and Eva. Wasn't expecting that. If they've known each other that long, that really explains why Eva's reaction at Marineford was so emotional. Also, betting that Ginny is Bonnie's mom. Does anyone else also think that Atlas kind of looks like Ginny?" Well, that might just be because she's drawn by the same artist, but
Ginny, Bonnie.
yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
that's completely there.
That's true.
I'm sorry, Atlas what was the
yeah,
thing about
they
Atlas? I missed
think
that.
Atlas looks like Bonnie or Ginny, I should say. I mean, I think that's just kind of how he's drawing adorable little scamps at this point in time, but who knows? Let's see. Try to get one that we haven't. Cram Stoker says, "Banger chapter as always. We're finally into the Kuma flashback. Let's go. I'm already tearing up. It's great to see baby Ivankov and Shanks' awful relative. How do you think everyone will get around Saturn's freezing people in place ability, do you think?" That's a good question. I guess I would rephrase that as, is the situation going to be resolved in such a way that they don't have to get around it? You know, like if the giant robot charges in and makes a mess of everything, they can just get away or something like that. But
I haven't looked at in detail the placement of our characters here. But let's see, where the hell is Sanji's really close to him?
Yeah.
Okay. He is really close. What if the no movement is they're on the pentagram?
Right.
Yeah, because knocked away by the pentagram. He's knocked away by it, maybe. But if you're inside of it, are you held as well? How does that? I don't know. I do like that idea somehow that the pentagram is involved, because it seems like he's deliberately not drawing where they are from top down. We can't see that they're inside it or they hit it. So that does seem to be a choice.
Rebers Kuma I Poch says, "Hey OPP, how's your Sunday going? You know that sloth is a sin, so get going. That last chapter sure had some Kodiak moments. It was a spectacle with all the stories about the sun god. I'm sure if news got out, it would be quite polarizing. Poor baby Kuma got beaten black and brown. I know in Japan, the history of repressed atrocities like this is also unbearable, so I'll move on to something less grisly. Where are all the bear ears? How come the Buccaneers don't have little buccan ears? Is it just a fashion choice by Kuma?"
Now,
very impressive.
I am. Let's say I'm impressed, but I have to. I'm sorry. The zoologist inside of me has to say that pandas are part of the cat family. So. No, I don't. Is that even true? I might even be misremembering that. But pandas are not bears. Sorry. Very clever. I like the puns. I almost couldn't bear all of them together like that.
Nice. Let's see. We already got this question. You know what? Okay. I think I'm looking through all these questions, and I think we kind of answered all of them, except for maybe the last one. This will be a little bit of a swerve from Big Mike, who asks, if all of the Don Quixote family are in Impel Down, do you think Dellinger was able to discover New Kama Land, and what do you think he's doing there?
Oh.
Now, his that they just Oda explained that as that he was raised by Giola,
I'm completely
right?
wrong, by the way. Panda is a bear species. Fuck. But they have, like, what is their thing with their thumbs? I'm sorry. I'm just... I got to eat it when I got to eat it. So
Okay. All right. Yeah. Fess up.
Okay. I think if we have any hope for the Doflamingo family, any of them, it's that they come to the same conclusion that Bellamy came to, and it's like he's not the guy. This is not the one you want to look up to. So any hope for rehabilitation is to give them someone else to look up for, and if anybody can frickin' do that, it's fucking Bentham. So
yeah, that would be pretty cool. I would enjoy seeing that little story beat. Yeah, I was saying I think Dellinger's, his funny speech and his like high heels and stuff, that was explained by Oda as that he was raised by Giola, right? Because they got him as a baby, and so she was the one who basically she instilled her aesthetic preferences in him to some extent. Yeah, and I think that's all. I mean, a lot of these other questions are just, what do you think is going to happen in the flashback, and I think we covered that pretty well here. So, yeah, I think we could probably wrap it up there.
All right. Once again, the majority of these weren't questions directed at the SGS, but for the disc piece. Do I have that right?
Disc piece, yes.
Disc piece, okay.
These were our disc piece questions. Unless you want me to look on the Reddit and Twitter.
Nah, we'll let them build up.
Okay. Sounds good then. All right, let's round out this show.
Can we square off?
This has been the One Piece Podcast, episode 792 for the week of Monday, October 23rd, 2023. Boy, what an episode. I
learned something, Stephen.
Yeah, you learned that a panda is a bear?
Panda's a bear is a fucking bear. God damn, it's high school science, man. Teacher was always like, oh, their thumbs are different because their thumbs can't move. They can just open and close.
This is the teacher's fault. So we're going to blame it on. I see.
I'm an idiot.
All right. Well, I sure am excited. I think everybody is to see what happens next in this flashback. We'll look forward to that. Look forward as well to new episodes of our Opla, our One Piece live action series of interviews and episode reviews. Zach has been surprising me with the variety of folks he's been able to get on those. So
unreal. Every time, things seemed like they were going to be kind of tough for a while in terms of getting guests, but then one after another, Zach keeps coming up with these names, and it's just like, oh my God, how did you do that?
Yeah, it's really cool and very invaluable, I think, just getting, especially the people from the different disciplines like the music and casting and what was that, wardrobe, I think was that really, really cool. I think I'm sure we have probably a few more of those still to come as well. Check out as I mentioned at the top, the 4Kids Flashback, Steve's new podcast talking about the history of 4Kids. And as always, keep up with the One Piece Podcast show you're listening to right now. Follow us on Twitter, on X, whatever you want to call it, at One Piece Podcast. On YouTube as well, we're putting up episodes there where you may happen to be listening, and Blue Sky too. And you can follow me personally on Blue Sky at stephenpaul.besky.social. Greg, where can people find you?
In Japan, They look hard enough, maybe. I am on Twitter, Ochimusha108, OCHIMUSHA108. And yes, that's where you can find me.
Cool. Well, another successful episode in the books. Yeah, we'll come back to you with more SGS. As always, submit your questions either to the Discord if you are a Patreon subscriber, or submit your questions on Twitter using the hashtag SGS Sensei. We would love to get some more. So we cleared them all out recently. So we'd like to get some more and get some interesting topics so that we're not always just talking about the same thing from question to question. We really do enjoy it and appreciate all of your questions. But for this week, that'll be it. So my name is Steven.
And I'm Greg.
And we'll catch you next time.
And I'm Simba.
Yeah, he squeaked.